Hey everyone, there are some videos out there showing some really sleek, really stylish, really amazing dual monitor setups. This is not one of those videos. So I was recently lucky enough to have a video call with Taran, the amazing former editor from LTT, and he advised me straight away to get a second monitor for my video editing. And I remembered I had a really old LG 22-inch monitor in the back of a cupboard somewhere, so I dug it out and I came up with this amazing thing. Isn't it amazingly weird looking? Well, yes it is, but actually I do mainly video editing on here. Although I do some gaming, it's mainly video editing, and having a monitor in portrait mode is really useful for that, because whether I shoot using a script or just some bullet pointed notes, I can have that in this monitor and then I can do all my video editing without actually worrying about needing to alt and tab and constantly losing my flow. But I was also eager when I did this to actually have future-proofing options, so I made sure I got a mount where I can actually bring this out, rotate it and put it back to a fairly normal looking setup if I wanted, or at least once I've gone into Windows to put this from portrait to landscape mode again. And then when I want to go back to video editing, I can just put it back into portrait mode and move it on back, and it actually works really well in this setup because I kind of get the best of both worlds. So I've been rocking this dual monitor setup for a few weeks now, so in this video I wanted to talk through how and why I did this, but also the pros and cons of this setup. So how did I install this, and why did I choose this specific monitor mount? Well, I knew that I wanted the second monitor to mainly be in portrait mode for video editing, but I still wanted to give myself some future-proofing options, which is why I was interested in rotating mounts, because I could always switch the monitor back to landscape mode when I needed to. So I spent some time researching all of the different mounts out there, and there were some good options that have 360-degree rotation support, and even some that slid up and down, which was cool. But these would have meant that my second monitor was fixed right up against the wall, and I would have had to also mount it slightly higher up in order to give me the necessary clearance to rotate it from portrait to landscape mode, for example. Ideally, I didn't want that. I wanted a monitor that could be in portrait mode, fairly low down, and look like it was almost sitting on my desk, meaning to hide all of the messy cables behind it, to be honest. That's where desk mounts could be fairly useful, of course, because they'd sit on the desk itself and give me a bit more flexibility about what height and angle I install my monitors at. These probably would have worked just fine, but I ended up coming across a £12, $16 mount that fit on my wall and was half the price of the other options. It also has an articulating arm that meant I could freely move my second monitor around quite a lot. Yes, this means that my other monitor is static using the stand, but I like where it's placed and I have no intention of actually moving that, to be honest. So the cheap wall mount that I came up with for my second monitor seemed fine to me. Plus it gave me an opportunity to do some drilling and make a mess, which is always a bonus. So I bought it and then I got to work installing it. I planned out the height that the mount should be at, which was basically a fraction up from where the desk is when the monitor's in portrait mode. And then I drilled the holes in the wall and added the drywall plugs. Then it was just a case of connecting the VESA mount on the back of my monitor with the 4 included screws or bolts and connecting them onto the main wall mount. Simple, it all worked fairly easily, and it's rock solid, it takes up less space, and I now have full control over my second monitor's position. My 5-year-old son likes it too. Or I should say he likes trolling me with it. I come into my study to work and I see these left my monitor like this or something like that. I know I could tighten up the bolts a bit, but I'm actually pretty proud of him. He's trolling me, to be honest. So I mentioned in the intro that I've been rocking this quirky 2-monitor setup for a few weeks now, but what are my general thoughts on it? Well, I'll start with a negative. This is a really old monitor that's been lying around on the floor and then in a cupboard for quite a few years, and I think I remember why. The backlight is a bit strange on it. I'm not sure if this is old or dying, but it all looks a bit wrong to me. You can kind of see this when it's in the background of the videos. It just looks a little bit different to my other monitor. Maybe I'm just used to my other monitor, but there is something in the back of my lizard brain telling me that I stopped using this monitor all those years ago for a particular reason that I now can't completely remember. Ah well, it's good enough for now, and that brings me on to my second point. Because I use this for my YouTube scripts to help speed up my video editing, I didn't want it to distract me in any way. I want to be able to focus on my main monitor without having an overly bright monitor glaring away in the corner of my eye. So the fact that this is a bit too dull and dim when I'm working is actually kind of a positive for me. I've actually lowered the brightness of this down a fair amount to 34%, and that works really well for me and my use case. But naturally, if I needed two glossy 4K screens for graphics design, this wouldn't work too well for me. Another disadvantage, and this is more of a nitpick, is that I often use the built-in Windows screenshot tool to drag a box around the screen to gather B-roll for my videos, for example a screenshot of a website or from some software I've been using. I take these screenshots on my main monitor, so this in 4K resolution, but when I'm dragging, it's easy for the mouse to actually go off the screen onto the other one by mistake, which can be a bit jarring. Now, this is common enough and something I just need to get used to, but still one small downside that's worth mentioning. One final negative is the extra power usage. This LG monitor uses around 22 watts of power when it's at its full brightness, although admittedly this drops down to 15 watts when I dim it down to the lower brightness levels that I actually prefer, in other words 34%. This might not seem like something worth worrying about, but this is only a 1080p screen. My main 4K monitor uses closer to 40 watts of power and it's not even an OLED display. If you wanted 2 or 3 OLED 4K monitors, then the power usage would probably be noticeable, and especially in a country like the UK which has sky-high energy bills. But that's enough negatives though. I'm actually really happy generally with how this turned out. While I do mainly use the second monitor in portrait mode, I like having the flexibility to actually move it around as I would like. Although granted there's not as much space here, so that limits things a little bit. I have found myself using the second monitor loads over the past few weeks. Being able to refer to my notes or scripts when video editing speeds things up a lot because I can more quickly jump ahead when there's a mistake and then find the next bit of footage that I'll need to go to. Equally, when I need to show something on the screen, like a video that I'm referring to or screen share of a website, it can be a little bit annoying generally to actually juggle everything. I might need OBS open, then File Explorer to get the clips that OBS saves, then my scripts or my notes, and finally the video editing software itself. Having a second monitor just naturally helps with this because I naturally have more screen real estate for managing all of this. I'm actually really happy with my desk setup now, especially because I've ran an HDMI cable from my HomeLab NAS in the corner over there, up into my loft and over here to this main monitor. This means that I can easily switch over to it from my monitor's menu and then start controlling my HomeLab NAS instead. And I'll show off why I did this in another video if you wanted to check that out, but I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the thumbs up button and please subscribe to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.